Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the final session that will be held here in this plenary. It's my privilege to oversee this panel talking about industrial intelligence and profits and alpha. And so I'm going to jump right into the questions, and I'm going to start here with CU. You are perhaps in one of the highest tech aspects of this, right? Factorial energy, you are looking at lithium batteries. Tell me a bit about how you use technology and where technology gives you an advantage in the aspects of your product development, your manufacturing, and your whole supply chain.
Thank you, Shannon. Great to see everyone here. And we're a leading technology leader for next generation battery and solid state battery space. We're backed by Mercedes, Stellantis, Hyundai, and Kia. As a leader in the space, we see it's fundamental to use AI in our technology development. As of earlier this year, we actually launched with Stellantis a digital-based AI platform called Gammatron, and we're using that to wrangle the data and also put the development data in a more accelerated mode. What we usually did is that we are using, instead of 6 months of the testing of the data, we're using only 1 month of the testing or even 1 week of testing to be able to predict the data towards the end of the life. And that shortened our testing process substantially compared with traditional testing in a lab or in the real world situation. And what we did is that earlier this year in February, we announced this program with Mercedes on the first solid-state battery vehicle. And we were planning to take a long time to do the testing and operating window and mission profile study, but it actually only takes us 6 months from then to actually deliver the vehicle and did the real road drive. And as of last month, we announced in the Munich Auto Show that we delivered 1,205 kilometer range drive as a record drive for Mercedes for their solid-state battery vehicle. And not only were we able to deliver that range, we were able to do it in a much more accelerated mode than what we have done with the traditional road testing for traditional batteries. And in addition to that, we not only use battery for development, we're using that to scale as well. In a manufacturing mode, we're actually taking all of the manufacturing data and putting them together to predict the battery end of life. What it does is that typically, for battery integration, you have to put that into the module, into a pack, into a vehicle, and the vehicle runs for 10 years, and you realize, oh, there's an issue, you have to recall. And that can cost billions of dollars. Each recall can cost usually $1 to $2 billion. But what we're doing is that from the second you build a battery, within 1 or 2 weeks, you're trying to predict end of life safety for the battery. And you will be able to avoid a recall before even the battery gets into the vehicle. So that can substantially reduce the cost for our automotive OEMs and for our consumers in the future. Mm-hmm. And not only for the manufacturing, but there's another big part of operations day-to-day, from legal to finance, from HR operations. We have utilized AI in all fronts for our technology as well. So this is really amazing technology, and we're using it not only just for the HR and the supporting function, but it's in the day-to-day operations already.
Excellent. So when we think about AI or even sort of green manufacturing and the like, we often think about it in your types of company, right? Battery technology is right there out in the front, and some of the innovations coming out of universities. I know you're in Boston and some of the areas you are. But Miguel, let me turn to you, because you are in a much more traditional industry that's been around for decades, right? You do heavy industry. How are you thinking about and doing this sort of integration of technology? What's mattered most for your industries?
Well, thank you very much. The industries are quite different in which we are in. So we have steel, we have material services, we have marine systems, which is about submarines and frigates. We have automotive supplier, and we have everything around renewable and chemical plants, or what we call the carbon technologies. So you can imagine the technologies everywhere. So if I start with the more typical aspect in automotive, so all this, what you can see here on screen, this is exactly how we today manufacture the precise products for our customers. There's no reason to have any kind of quality problem. Everything is automated, and by the way, it's also important to understand the most advanced factories in automotive are in China. So the most automation is in China, the most robotization is in China. Of course, in the automotive sector, it's very important that you have a database that is used globally. You know, you cannot have isolated databases in each and every country. You need to have one global database where you can extract data from, because you are producing in several locations the same product. You also need digital twins of the factory in order to anticipate factory changes, and this is very important when constantly adapting to customer needs. And the digital twin, I switch now the industry, is also something in the chemical plant environment, which we are using also there. You have, of course, everywhere sensors. This is important for service applications, for preventive maintenance. This is already in place since many, many years. Of course, also exchange of data, of engineering data, is a daily process. If we come now to the most traditional piece of our business, which is steel, of course, we know exactly which part of material is on which chip, at which location in the ocean or on the river Rhine, because we need to anticipate every kind of impact on our supply chain. This is also something that is within a steel plant. You have immediate information about what is going on in every part of the steel plant in order to coordinate and optimize the material flow overall. And being with material flow, I switched to material services, where we organize supply chain for our customers. You know, this is a trading business on one hand, but on the other hand also where we organize complete supply chains for customers like Boeing or Airbus, or some of the automotive customers like Tesla. So there everywhere is big data, automation, big digitalization. I'm not sure whether we should already call it AI, because of course there's a lot of intelligence in it, but is it already self-induced? I don't know. This is what we are working on. And of course, in all the service parts, we are also introducing digital agents, where you have already people taking care of customers. So digital versions of agents taking care of customers. And ultimately, sorry for the long answer, but we have 5 areas, and this is...
You have a lot of businesses, so...
Submarines and frigates. And of course, in submarines, you can imagine everything is beside the product. It's about software, electronics, GPS, modern type of drones, and technology is on top of the list, of course, for the development of the product as such. So a broad implementation of technology is securing us that that business is flowing and that we have a good quality.
Excellent. Amit, let me turn to you and sort of, your vision and sort of your role here in Saudi Arabia. And as you look at the investments you're making, the industries you're going into, what role is technology playing in this?
So, first of all, thanks for having me. Can you guys hear me? Okay, good. So, AlKhorayef is the Saudi Arabia's national champion in electronics, industrial, semiconductor, and other categories. And what we intend to do, since we're coming from behind, we need to leapfrog. We need to be technology first. We need to be doing things both from policy, investment perspective that gives us the...
You're not on yet. Probably you take the mic.
Mm-hmm. Oops. We might need a mic up here.
Your Excellency.
Your Excellency.
Excellency.
So,
Yes.
Okay, since we are coming from behind, we want to leapfrog and make sure we can take full advantage of technology. First thing starts with a partner that has the global technology and know-how. That's the starting point. Then we want to make sure that we're not repeating and copying from other places here. We're extending and evolving and thinking about how can we build a best-in-class industry here. Because that's the only way we can be here for next 5 decades, next century and beyond. We have to build an industry that is resilient. And what better time than now to do it? Supply chain is in disarray, and a lot of things, a lot of companies, a lot of CEOs I talk about, they talk about how to get the supply chain resilience, how can they move from the existing scenarios. How many things have we thrown at them where they are concerned about planning business, managing business, and really thinking about how to invest, where to invest. And that's where the kingdom comes in and be the solution. We're stable, we're friends with everyone, we have tremendous amount of natural resources, we're training and developing our human resources, we can put the capital appropriately, we have the best-in-class energy, same or better than China. So if you're thinking in that context, we have the right ingredient to build a long-term, sustainable, resilient industry, but it starts with partnering with someone who has the know-how, making sure we are leapfrogging, we're not just copying, and we want to make sure technology comes first so we can be world-class right here for the challenges that every company is facing.
Excellent, thank you. Your Excellency, thank you for joining us. It's wonderful to have you on the panel. And we've been talking here, we've had, Su Yi has talked about her industry, which is very high tech and lithium batteries and others. We're talking about, Miguel, about more traditional industries, steel and automotive and submarines and others. You obviously, your colleague. And so I would love to turn to you about how, from a government perspective here, you're thinking about for the ambitions of Saudi Arabia. How are you thinking about technology integrating into these various industries happening here? And what can and should the government do to support it?
Well, thank you. It's great to be here. And sorry, I think there was change in the program. But I would like first to make it clear that when we look at our ambition in the industrial sector and the amount of growth that we have in our strategy, the only way to do that is really to bet on technology. And this is what we are doing. And that's really the beginning, is to set the stage that this is the direction that you want to take. This will definitely translate into different verticals. One is policies, so we need to have the right policies by the government to ensure that we are encouraging the right behavior when it comes to choosing how the manufacturing facilities, future manufacturing facilities will be built. Second is to be ahead of the game when it comes to investing in infrastructure, both physical and digital. There's no way to unlock the value of technology without having a robust, efficient connectivity infrastructure. This is key to enable private sector. And the third is human capital development. There is no way also for these technologies for a country like Saudi to benefit from without really having the right capabilities in terms of human capital development. And all of these three verticals, we are very serious about addressing to ensure that the capabilities, companies who come to invest here, our dream is they look at Saudi as a plug-and-play country, where they don't have to worry about the infrastructure, the connectivity, the human capital resources. All they need to do is really bring the latest technology. I think on the other side, when we see technologies, I don't think we are short of technologies today, globally. There's a lot to choose from. I think what we need is the right mindset in the private sector to choose the right combination of technologies that maximize the return on the investment and ensure that it is done in the fastest and most effective and cost-effective way to be competitive globally.
Thank you. And let me pick up for this next round on some of the points you just made. And while the promise of technology, as we've all heard, is obviously there, it is operating and being integrated alongside a host of risks, right? It's a geopolitical fragmentation, natural resource and sometimes data nationalization or nationalism that's happening, the supply chain uncertainties that have been mentioned, and as you just mentioned, sort of challenges to the labor force, right, to the human capital side. So I'd love, as we talk, what are the risks that you see in your business and sort of how are you overcoming or dealing with them? And so, perhaps, CU, you could talk about, the industry that you're in is not without its geopolitical challenges, as well as others. So how are you thinking about that, and how are you facing those?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very big challenge in front of all of us. As a leading battery maker in the US, we're definitely facing a lot of challenges, but also opportunities. The great thing is we have a high energy and high power battery that can power drones, marines, like Miguel just mentioned, as well as electric vehicles and energy storage. Right? Those are fundamentally very important for the broader industry as an infrastructure. Right? It's great that everybody's talking about AI, but AI still needs something to power the robots. That's batteries. So this is something we do see there's an opportunity to grow. But in the meantime, we do see there are challenges in the supply chain, as some of you just mentioned. And how we mitigate it is that we're building resilience through diversification and localization. And for Factorial, we have our headquarters in the US in Boston, but we have our pilot manufacturing site in Korea, as well as our subsidiaries in Germany and Japan. In the meantime, we also have a broader supplier support from investors, from strategic partners. We announced the MOU with LG Chem last year for chemical cathode supply. We also have Lotte Chemical, which is another major Korean supplier, to work with us on recycling. In the meantime, we're looking at end-to-end for recycling with Sungil and a few other partners to make sure there's a cradle-to-grave responsibility on the supply chain. And with that being said, I think it does come in with a lot of upside for us, especially as a US company. As of 2 weeks ago, China announced across-the-board ban on all of the high-energy density batteries, which means any batteries above 300 watt-hour per kilogram will be export controlled, which means US right now has more than 90% of the drone batteries coming from China, and now we cannot access it anymore. So this is something create a vacuum, but also create opportunity for Factorial.
Yes, I can see it. Miguel, how are you thinking about these geopolitical or other challenges, supply chain challenges?
From a psychological point of view, as soon as you recognize and understood the challenge, it turns into an opportunity, right? And this is why I think we have a lot of opportunities. I would not like to discuss the problems of the geopolitics because, we have been traditionally always ThyssenKrupp very local for local. So we have a steel industry dealing with the local, European, German. We have been installing ourselves in China, being local for local as well. And we have been doing the same thing in the US. I think, and to your point, technology is everywhere, but we are not using it appropriately yet. All the challenges in supply chain must be overcome by using the technology much better. We have been doing that, I mentioned that before, in the material service business where we have a logistics function. We have a product that is called a software that's called Pacemaker. And with this Pacemaker, you can anticipate possible disruptions in the supply chain, and you can manage the supply chain for your customers much better. So I think the emphasis now is to really be even closer to customers. We have been talking before. What we are doing now in China is to embark much more on the collaboration with all the new producers of electric vehicles. There are many coming out every year and getting important shares. And this is a big opportunity. At the same time, you need to get closer to your customers as well in the US in order to make sure that this close relationship also helps you in overcome possible other challenges that turn into opportunities. So for me, supply chain resilience is the most important thing. That's the reason why I fully understand your first target is localization, getting use of the extreme good energy pricing, competitive electricity that you have. That's a big advantage, and I'm pretty sure that you will turn this into a supply chain resilience, and you as well, because where electricity is competitive, there will be a lot of industry coming. And this is our task as global entrepreneurs to make this opportunity really into action, turn into action in order to get an advantage for the company, but also an advantage for economies like Saudi. So I would like to emphasize, let's speak about opportunities. And of course, there are tariffs there. Also, a tariff is an opportunity. So everything basically turns from an entrepreneurial point of view into an opportunity immediately.
Excellent. Right, so playing off of that, you have the benefit of significant capital, but obviously you're thinking about risks and opportunities. So follow up with him. Yes.
So first of all, I want to build on His Excellency Al-Tuwajri's point. Sorry, His Excellency AlKhorayef time. His point was that we are building these things structurally. And yesterday, I had the opportunity and honor to be next to him to announce the Advanced Manufacturing Human Capital Initiative, which means we're building the things that we need in next 6, 7, 10, 12 years. So it's not like something that industry has to solve. His ministry has given us support to train people before even we start the production, right? So these are the examples of how ministry actually really is supporting. Similarly, within his ministry and his scope is entity that is helping us build certain industrial parks and the structures. So that way, when we are building the production, it's ready to go. And this is the sort of example of this. His Royal Highness Prince Abdulaziz yesterday talked about the pricing in KSA now is same or better than China in most of the cases, whether it's sustainable energy or whether it's a gas related. So that's an example of something that is paving the path. Then we need to have the right technology partner. But coming back to supply chain as a resilience, supply chain resilience as an opportunity, which is Miguel's point and my point, I think this is fantastic for us to lead, Kingdom to lead, and there is no better time than when everyone is evaluating where to base their operation, where to go, how to re-architect the supply chain. Now, how technology is playing into this? You have AI that is creating the nodes, system of systems. Now we can orchestrate and architect what parts need to go where, when, how. Now, logistics path, what is a safety stock? If you move away from efficiency to resilience, it leads to a different scenarios. And you can optimize through digital twin. So one of the factory that is coming up here in Riyadh later this year is Lenovo. They're going to run the operation through digital twin. We have another one on robotics that is also driven by digital twin. So this is how the future, this is what I was talking about, leapfrog. And time is now. Our time to rise and shine in industrial, manufacturing, supply chain, innovation is here and now. Kingdom will play a bigger part going forward.
Excellent. Your Excellency, I will give you the last word and the last thought on this, on sort of the opportunities for Saudi Arabia, given geopolitical fragmentation, given resource and data nationalism, given these other uncertainties. What is the opportunity that gives you?
Well, I think if you look at our history, we have been living with uncertainty of geopolitics for some time. So that's something we had to live with, and it's a neighborhood that has been very, very volatile. But nevertheless, the stability of the country has shown that even with that kind of geopolitical disruption, if you have the right stability as a government and policy, you can continue to grow and grow your economy in the way we have. But when we look at the region, I think we are very optimistic, as you rightly said today, even from a political point of view. What we are doing in Saudi, I think we are setting a great example for the region to learn and to see that if we focus on our internal capabilities and our people, the only positive thing is growth. And what the government is doing in the region to stabilize the region will definitely be an enabler for growth and also investment. So today, as the region exists with Saudi and the neighboring countries, but if we look at Iraq and the potential of Iraq, for example, Syria coming back, Yemen, Lebanon, and these countries definitely will come back and will make Saudi Arabia more and more appealing for investments. But back to also how can we use the mega trends today to enable our growth. We have announced a program called Future Factories program, where we had target 4,000 factories to adopt new technologies. Today, we have reached almost 3,900 factories who are in this program, trying to look at the right technology to be incorporated in their existing setup to improve productivity. When we look at enabling technology, we have different programs also to attract entrepreneurs, to attract innovation, not only in Saudi, but also from abroad. We have a great ecosystem that allows innovators, entrepreneurs to come test their technologies, get proof of concept, and move towards implementation. Companies like Alat and others will be a great tool for these innovations and for these enablers. We have created 2 programs also for entrepreneurs and innovation in the ministry. One is called the Industrial Hackathon, where we connect large companies with entrepreneurs to look at different technologies, to introduce technologies and ideas to existing problems. The other program is the 1 mile program, which takes entrepreneur from an idea to a concept to converting it to a project. In mining, we see a lot of potential, for example, in automation, in how can we bring technology to mines, where mines can be much more safer, much more productive, and much more energy also efficient. So these are the efforts of our government. And I think one of the things that we are blessed with is most of our industrial capabilities is in industrial cities, and where we are investing, as I earlier said, in connectivity, in smart city applications, in helping communities to learn from each other's, testing technology. We have a captive business also as a government in our industrial cities, in our mining locations, where different technologies can be used. So today, I think Saudi is a great place to be when it comes to innovation, incubating new ideas, testing new ideas, and getting these new ideas real tested in real environment with large companies like our large companies like Ma'aden or Sabic or Aramco or Mara'i and so on. Definitely a lot of global players are here also bringing their own technology. And finally, what I would like to close with is that with the local content policy, which is also going back to localization, the policy is clear. And today we have seen great success. We have been able to show attraction to things that was never thought of to be localized in Saudi. In pharmaceuticals, for example, or insulin, we have signed with Novo and we have signed with Sanofi to localize insulin that will reach almost 90% of local demand. Today we signed with the authority of cybersecurity localization of some products also in Saudi. The local content agenda in Saudi today is one of the most enablement to bring technology and to localize and to also bring up new capabilities. And what I would like to say is that since the launch of the policy in 2029, we are tracking how much is there really a cost. And we can see that there is a decline in the cost, and we are becoming more and more competitive as a result of the policy, rather than, charging the government more than it should. And that was our promise and my promise to His Royal Highness and to the Minister of Finance, that the local content policy will, with time, bring costs down and be competitive and an enabler for us to compete globally and export.
Well, there's not a better place to end. Thank you, and join me in thanking our panelists.